6 people are under arrest tonight after U.S. authorities discovered a drug tunnel between San Diego and Tijuana.
What if beneath your city are dark secrets no one talks about? Some investigators finally stepped inside these mysterious places, and they found things far from the ordinary. So watch what they found in today's bizarre compilation. San Diego authorities thought they had seen it all until 2011, when they broke into something beneath the border that changed that assumption immediately. A tunnel running from Tijuana straight into the United States, fitted with electric lighting, a working ventilation system, and an actual rail system built into the floor. This was not a rough hand-dug passage, it was an engineering project. Then more appeared, each one more sophisticated, some stretching over 2,000 feet, lined with concrete, buried deep beneath warehouses. Authorities have shut down dozens across that corridor since. They have also quietly acknowledged they are almost certainly not finding all of them.
The tunnel was found to have a railing system, steel shoring, electricity, and ventilation.
Drain network.
This storm drain that runs along Grand Avenue here in Nogales typically collects stormwater from the Sonora side. But Border Patrol says 2 guys had other ideas, trying to use this tunnel to smuggle more than 150 pounds of meth across the border.
By the mid-2010s, the approach had changed entirely. Nogales, Arizona showed exactly how. Rather than constructing new tunnels, smugglers had identified the existing municipal drainage network running beneath the city's streets and converted it into a ready-made operation. Adding electrical wiring and ventilation to infrastructure the city had already built and largely forgotten. Tighter than anything found near San Diego, harder to detect, and considerably cheaper to prepare. Authorities have sealed dozens of entry points across the years. Each one closed is followed by another opening somewhere else in the same network, because the infrastructure running beneath Nogales belongs to the city itself, and it stretches for miles. Buried below.
Derinkuyu is this massive underground tunnel system going down 3 levels with many streets, with many shafts and corridors and rooms and caverns that can hold massive amounts of people.
In 1963, a man renovating his home in Derinkuyu, Turkey knocked through a wall and found a passage that did not end. What it led to was an entire underground city carved from volcanic rock, capable of housing an estimated 20,000 people across multiple levels, stretching 80 meters below the surface. Ventilation shafts, wells, livestock areas, churches, and rolling stone doors that sealed from the inside. A second city was later found nearby, connected by a tunnel kilometers long. An ancient Zoroastrian text describes a god instructing a king to build an underground shelter before a coming catastrophe. Whoever carved Derinkuyu was preparing for something serious enough to build an entire civilization underground and seal the door behind them.
It is absolutely stupendous. It covers about 5 million square feet. It goes down over 370 feet into the ground, and it's estimated that this could have held 20,000 people or more.
Hero Border Patrol. Smuggling tunnels beneath the southern border get most of the attention, but in 2005, British Columbia reminded everyone that the problem runs north too. A crew spent over a year digging a tunnel from a greenhouse in Langley all the way into a house across the border in Washington state, designed to move cannabis into the United States beneath one of the most monitored land borders in the world. What they did not know was that authorities had been watching from the beginning. Rather than shutting it down immediately, investigators bugged the tunnel and waited until construction was fully complete, ensuring the charges that followed covered the entire operation rather than just the digging. The crew finished building their own evidence. Atlantis. A scuba diver, equipped with air tanks and a dry suit, dropped into the underwater cave system beneath Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula and shared what he found with the world. The caves, known as cenotes, were once dry caverns that formed over thousands of years before rising water levels submerged them completely, leaving stalactites hanging from ceilings and stalagmites rising from floors that no living person had touched during their formation. The water was crystal clear, lit an unearthly blue-green by his torch, the visibility stretching further than seemed possible underground. The Maya considered cenotes sacred, believing they were direct passages to the underworld and the realm of their rain deity Chark. Freemason's Place. hiker in Oregon spotted a cave entrance that appeared on no map and found a Freemason symbol carved directly into the rock above it. He went in. 2 wooden benches faced each other inside, and surrounding them were dozens of shoes, different sizes, different ages. Then he found the remains, some large, some considerably smaller. The Freemasons have operated as a secretive fraternal organization since at least the early 18th century, with documented rituals, private meeting spaces, and a long history of using symbols to mark locations significant to the Brotherhood. What that particular cave was used for, what the shoes represented, and what the remains were doing there has never been formally investigated. He left quickly and has not returned. Forest Portal Path. A group of friends found an old moss-covered path in the forest that looked as though nobody had used it in years and followed it into what appeared to be a ruined structure or natural tunnel. When they came out the other side, the forest had changed. The trees were taller, the air carried a different quality, and the silence around them was the kind that does not feel like absence but like presence. Everything about the space on the other side felt wrong in a way none of them could specify precisely. They did not stay to investigate further. Underground Forest Tunnel. A wildlife expert working deep in woodland came across stone stairs descending into the ground with no structure around them to explain their existence, and made the decision to follow them down. The tunnel below felt old and carried a silence that was too complete for a natural underground space. Footprints marked the walls rather than the floor, which had no straightforward explanation. Tools and objects were scattered through the passageway, suggesting regular use by something that had not bothered to clear up after itself. He found an exit eventually and took it. Alien Cave. A group of friends driving through a mountain road had been watching solid rock pass on either side for miles, when the rock opened into something that stopped the conversation in the car entirely. A massive opening in the cliff face, positioned higher than any road or path reached, with no infrastructure suggesting it had ever been accessed from below. No trail, no carved steps, no sign of any approach route from the valley floor, just an enormous hole in a solid mountain sitting above the reach of anyone on foot. Forest Bunker.
Alright guys, I found my way inside. It appears to be some sort of bunker.
A hiker found a round opening in the ground large enough to enter, and made the decision most sensible people would not. Stairs led down into dark tunnels and narrow stone passageways, some ancient-looking, others showing clear signs of recent use. He found a second concealed chamber deeper in, consistent with a military installation designed to keep itself invisible from above. He posted the footage online. Shortly afterward, anonymous messages reached him telling him to take it down. Whether he complied and what followed that instruction has never been publicly confirmed. The messages alone suggested that whatever he had found underground, someone above ground already knew exactly where it was. Eerie Crypt. Wildlife experts pushing through Scottish woodland came across a stone chapel. The forest had been consuming since around 1850. Its wooden door still standing, a crypt sitting beside it between the trees. Local accounts describe a closed community of monks who lived there completely cut off from the outside world, until one night they simply vanished. No record of departure, no explanation any local history has satisfactorily produced. Some accounts suggest they had been protecting something inside considered sacred enough to require permanent human presence. The crypt has never been formally excavated. The detail that appears in every account of the place is the same. Everyone who finds it leaves, and nobody ever talks about going back. Cursed Jungle Palace. A group of friends exploring jungle in Singapore pushed far enough in to find something the undergrowth had been slowly reclaiming since the mid-1800s. An abandoned palace, its walls covered in symbols and markings that suggested the building had been used for purposes well beyond ordinary occupation. Strange sounds filled the space around them as they moved through it, the kind that empty structures do not typically produce. Research into the site's history uncovered a tragic series of events connected to the people who had once lived there, and local belief has long held that those who passed away within those walls never fully left them. Forest Temple Ruins. The woods looked peaceful enough until the hikers pushed into a clearing that the trees seemed to be deliberately surrounding. Black rocks and low stone walls marked with carvings that matched no known writing system. A dragon-like figure scratched deep into the rock face, symbols repeated across multiple surfaces, with a consistency suggesting ritual rather than decoration. Whatever took place in that clearing, whoever built those walls and carved those symbols into the stone, they left no record that any historical catalog has ever claimed. Nephilim Giant's Door. Travelers moving through Canyonlands came across something carved into the rock face that stopped them completely. A doorway, if you could call it that, towering at least 50 or 60 feet high, cut into the mountain with a precision and scale that no ordinary human construction project explains. The Nephilim appear across ancient texts, including the Book of Genesis, described as the offspring of divine beings and humans, a race of giants whose scale would have made a door of this size entirely proportional. Giant's Footprint.
Oh, something there. Something right there. A big white dome. What is this? Oh my goodness.
High on a mountain in Sri Lanka, carved deep into solid rock, sits a footprint far too large to belong to any human being. An explorer located it using satellite imagery and made the climb to see it in person. Local tradition holds that it belonged to a divine being or a giant who walked the earth in an age that predates recorded history. A small ancient temple sits nearby, its rooms locked, the whole structure carrying the atmosphere of something placed there deliberately to watch over what is carved into that rock rather than to welcome visitors. Major religions, including Buddhism and Hinduism, have all made separate claims over the centuries about whose footprint that impression belongs to.
What? Look at this. Oh my goodness. Looks like a massive foot carving and people have put money into it. That is really, really cool. I can't believe that. What a place for a foot.
Sleeping giants. Tourists moving through forest in Denmark came across a wooden sculpture of a giant figure so large and so still in the trees that several of them stopped walking before understanding what they were looking at. Norse and Scandinavian folklore describes giants and trolls as ancient beings who predate human settlement across the landscape, creatures said to turn to stone or wood when caught by sunlight, and remain locked in that form until darkness returns. The sculpture sits within a tradition that the surrounding culture takes considerably more seriously than most visitors initially expect. Late-night travelers passing through that forest have reported heavy footsteps and sounds that the trees themselves do not account for. Skara Brae. For thousands of years, nobody knew it was there. Then a storm hit the coast of Orkney, Scotland in 1850, and when the ground settled again, an entire village had surfaced from beneath it. Skara Brae, a Neolithic settlement over 5,000 years old, older than the pyramids at Giza and older than Stonehenge, emerged with its stone houses, carved furniture, shelving and passageways largely intact. The preservation was so complete that archaeologists described walking through spaces that felt recently occupied rather than abandoned across 5 millennia. What happened to the people who lived there has never been established, and now that it's uncovered, you can walk through their world, if you dare. Ancient Forest Wall. A hiker pushing through ordinary woodland stopped when the trees ended and a wall began. Enormous, solid, far taller than anything around it, built from stone that had clearly been sitting in that forest long enough for the forest to have grown up around it, rather than the other way around. No gate, no markings, no indication of who built it or what they were enclosing. Walls of this nature appear in unexplained archaeological records across multiple continents, structures that predate any civilization credited with building them, and serve no purpose that conventional history has satisfactorily explained. And now that people know about it, who knows what it was hiding all this time? Cursed field stones. Locals had avoided the field for as long as anyone could remember, and nobody who grew up near it needed much convincing about why. When outsiders began digging, the ground responded in a way that the footage captured and nobody present could explain. Rocks rising slowly from the disturbed soil, floating upward against every physical law that should have applied to them, like something beneath the surface was registering the intrusion and pushing back. Accounts of land considered spiritually dangerous or actively cursed appear across virtually every culture on Earth, often attached to sites where significant events occurred and were subsequently buried rather than acknowledged. Path inside mountains. After a long, difficult climb to the summit of a remote mountain, a group of mountaineers found something at the top that the climb had not prepared them for. Small caves cut into the rock face, each one fitted with a door, old and deliberately made, with no settlement nearby, no trail leading up to them, no infrastructure suggesting any human presence had ever been sustained at that altitude. Somebody built those doors at the top of a mountain that nobody lived on and nobody regularly visited, which means somebody climbed there specifically to do it. Local accounts describe the caves as passages to something beyond the physical world. Secret passageway.
Recently, there have been a number of reports of pyramids, huge great pyramids in Antarctica. They jut out of the ice and snow and they look perfect, just like those in Egypt.
Satellite imagery over Antarctica picked up something beneath the ice that researchers have been arguing about ever since. A pyramid-shaped formation, significantly larger than anything built in Egypt, with sides and angles precise enough that natural geological formation struggles to account for it convincingly. Antarctica was not always the frozen continent it is today. Geological evidence confirms it was once temperate, forested, and warm enough to sustain complex life before a polar shift altered its position on the Earth's surface somewhere between 30 and 35 million years ago. The question of whether anything was built there before that shift, and whether whatever was built has been sitting under that ice ever since, is one that no research expedition has been formally funded to answer. Hiker vanishes in tunnel. A hiker out for a walk found something half buried in the dirt that stopped him completely. A small strange structure, a shell placed deliberately beside it, and a tunnel entrance leading underground. He went in and found metal doors, old machinery, and stairs descending further than any civilian installation had reason to go. The site had every characteristic of a facility that had been deliberately concealed rather than simply abandoned. He documented what he found and shared it. After that, he was not seen again. Locals in the area attached the obvious conclusion to his disappearance. Sunken church. The ruins of Lubog Church in Bulacan sit partially submerged, half reclaimed by water, and locals have maintained for generations that whatever took up residence inside it never left when the congregation did. A YouTuber who went in found a dark room filled with old clothing and a black cat that held eye contact far longer than cats typically bother to before vanishing completely. The deeper into the structure he moved, the more the atmosphere shifted from abandoned building to something that felt actively occupied. Filipino folk tradition holds that old churches and cemeteries serve as permanent dwelling places for spirits unwilling to move on, particularly those connected to unresolved circumstances. Chand Bauri Stepwell. A researcher investigating an old structure discovered beneath it one of the most extraordinary constructions surviving from the ancient world. Chand Bauri, in Rajasthan, India, over 1,000 years old, descends 13 stories underground with 3,500 steps carved in perfectly symmetrical patterns across its walls. Built originally as a water storage system in desert terrain where survival depended on what could be held underground, its scale and mathematical precision far exceeded any purely functional requirement. Standing at the top, looking down into it produces a particular disorientation because the geometry does not behave the way human-built spaces normally do. Ghostly Asylum. Manicomio di Voghera in northern Italy closed in 1998 and has been sitting in its own silence ever since. Explorers who pushed through its corridors found long hallways dissolving into darkness, broken beds still arranged in the wards where they were last used, walls stained and cracked in the way that only years of complete abandonment produces. The physical decay was expected. What landed differently was the atmosphere, a weight that the silence carried rather than simply being silence. Italian psychiatric institutions operating through the mid-20th century were documented as places where patients endured conditions that would be considered deeply inhumane by any modern standard: confinement without treatment, isolation without oversight. The people who passed away inside Voghera did so within walls that are still standing. Extraordinary sight. A tourist stepping into a cave in Iran found something that looked nothing like the world outside it. The walls carried reds, blues, and gold, crystals catching the light from every angle and throwing it back with an intensity that made the stone appear to generate its own illumination. Pillars of formation rose from the floor and descended from the ceiling, the space between them filled with shapes that took thousands of years of mineral deposit to produce. The Ali Sadr cave system in Hamadan province is one of the largest water caves in the world, its formations dating back an estimated 100 million years, its colors produced by iron oxide and other mineral compounds absorbed into the crystal structure over geological time. Cosmic Doorway. A stone carving in Anuradhapura, Sri Lanka has been sitting at the edge of mainstream archaeological attention for years without receiving a satisfying formal classification. Circular, geometric, carrying a central symbol that repeats across its surface in a pattern that feels less decorative and more coded, it has been compared to portal imagery appearing in ancient sites across cultures that had no documented contact with each other. The Anuradhapura kingdom dates back over 2,000 years and produced some of the most sophisticated stonework in South Asian history. Cliff Hideaway. Drone footage over the cliffs of Liangshan in China revealed something the mountain had been concealing from ground level entirely, a large ancient structure built directly into the rock face, clinging to the cliffside at an altitude that raises immediate questions about how any construction crew reached it, let alone sustained the work long enough to build something of that scale. Similar cliff dwellings exist across Chinese mountain regions, built historically by communities retreating from conflict or persecution into terrain so inaccessible that pursuit became impractical. The scale of what the drone captured above Liangshan suggested a settlement large enough to have housed a significant population. Melted Tunnel. A tunnel in Cusco, Peru, carries walls so smooth and consistently glossy that the question of what produced that surface has generated serious debate among researchers studying pre-Columbian construction. The finish is not consistent with any standard stoneworking technique documented in the archaeological record for that region. Some researchers have pointed to vitrification, a process requiring temperatures high enough to partially liquefy stone, as the only mechanism that produces a surface of that quality and consistency. The tunnel is also notably small, sized in a way that suits a significantly shorter human frame than the average. Ancient Peruvian texts and oral traditions reference earlier peoples of smaller stature inhabiting the landscape before the civilizations that left the most visible record. Pyramid lights.
Have a look at this stone there.
A historian filming inside an underground tunnel of the Step Pyramid in Egypt noticed something on his phone screen that nobody standing beside him could see with their eyes. White lights moving through the frame in every direction, present only through the lens and invisible to direct observation. His companions gathered around the screen and watched it too, all of them seeing the same thing through the camera that none of them could detect without it.
You see this? What is that on my video? Oh, wow.
Earth ruin.
This is the structure. I found it. Look at this. Look at where it is found. The middle of nowhere. Why is it built all the way out here? This looks very strange, very different to the other ruins I've seen today.
A YouTuber was browsing Google Earth when a strange shape buried in rocky terrain caught his eye and wouldn't let go. He drove out to the coordinates himself and found thick stone walls still standing, old timber rotting inside, and a rusty container sitting empty nearby. Climbing higher above the site, he discovered a concealed entrance pressed into the dirt that the aerial view had only hinted at. When he moved toward it, the ground shifted beneath his feet, soft and unstable. Then he noticed the remains scattered nearby, spread around that hidden entrance like whatever had gone in had not come back out. The sinking ground and those remains made this place considerably darker.
It is very, very muddy, to the point where I might not be able to do this. Whoa. No. Unfortunately, the ground is too soft here. It's like quicksand, and I can see bones here. I'm not the only one that has struggled. I think animals have been stuck in here. You see here all the animal footprints, but then look here. Just there, that is animal bones. I think if you go in here, you don't come out. This is really soft, soft mud.
Antarctica Ice Tunnel. As Antarctic ice continues melting at rates glaciologists describe as historically unprecedented, the continent has been slowly giving up what it has been sitting on top of for centuries. A tunnel emerged from the receding snow, sealed at its entrance, its construction suggesting it had been closed deliberately rather than gradually buried by accumulating drift. Antarctica was a temperate landmass before geological shifts repositioned it over the southern pole roughly 34 million years ago, and the conditions beneath its ice preserve organic material indefinitely. Whatever was sealed inside that tunnel has been sitting in a natural deep freeze ever since. Antarctica Vanishing Door. A tourist running through Google Maps satellite imagery while planning a trip to Antarctica brought the scrolling to a complete stop when something in the snow appeared that had no business being there. A clean rectangular shape pressed into the ice, sharp-edged and deliberate, sitting in the middle of an otherwise unbroken white landscape like a door built into the frozen ground. He shared the coordinates before anyone official could get ahead of it, and the image spread fast. By the time investigators reached the location, the snow was completely undisturbed. No mark, no depression, nothing to confirm that anything had ever broken that surface. The satellite glitch explanation was offered quickly. What it does not account for is how a glitch produces a shape that is specific with edges that clean, in a location that is remote. Forgotten cannon bunker. He was partway up a hillside on a routine hike when a cannon barrel protruding from the rock face ahead of him ended the routine part entirely. Burnt along its length, clearly fired at some point rather than simply stored and forgotten, built into the hillside at an angle, suggesting whoever placed it there had chosen that specific position for the field of fire it provided. He found the entrance and went inside. Stairs descended through stone walls into a tunnel system branching through the interior of the hill, with the kind of deliberate layout that only serious military planning produces. Middle of nowhere church.
That obviously looks like a trail, but this also looks like old stairs. This would lead more towards where my map is saying, but that looks more like a trail. Let's try this way.
An explorer spotted a strange shape on Google Earth and hiked over 12 miles through open terrain to reach it. What he found when he got there stopped him completely. A perfectly maintained church standing alone with no town nearby, no road leading to it, no sign of any community that would explain its existence in that location. The grass around it had been recently cut. The doors were locked. Everything was clean and cared for. He circled the building looking for any indication of who was maintaining it and found nobody. So who was taking care of it?
We've made it to the church, and it was really hard. Really tough. Wowzers, wowzers, not an easy hike. But this looks maintained. Someone's piled up the bricks. This is definitely being worked on or maintained, which is insane. You gotta come really far out. Wow.
Underground city. In 1963, a man renovating his home in Derinkuyu, Turkey, broke through a basement wall and found a passage behind it that did not end where any basement passage should. It led him downward into something that took considerable time to fully comprehend. An entire underground city carved from volcanic rock, its tunnels stretching for miles, its chambers capable of housing an estimated 20,000 people across multiple levels descending 80 meters below the surface. Ventilation shafts ran through the rock with a precision that kept air circulating through spaces that had been sealed for centuries. Rolling stone doors were built to seal corridors from the inside. Whoever designed Derinkuyu built it specifically to keep people alive underground for extended periods. Sealed stone door. A group of historians hiking along a rocky cliff face noticed something in the stone wall beside them that the natural rock around it did nothing to explain. A doorway carved cleanly into the cliff, its edges too precise and its proportions too deliberate to be anything geological. It had the appearance of something sealed rather than simply unfinished, closed from one side with an intention that centuries had not disturbed. Similar carved doorways have been documented across ancient sites in Turkey, Peru, and India, each appearing in locations associated with civilizations that left sophisticated construction behind, without leaving sufficient explanation for how they achieved it. Mysterious stone find. Archaeologists working through the ruins of Hattusa, the ancient Hittite capital in Turkey, are accustomed to finding things that rewrite assumptions. but a smooth green stone sitting among the excavated material stopped the work around it. It was too polished, too uniform, too fundamentally out of place. Dating confirmed it at over 3,500 years old, and the material it was made from did not originate anywhere near Hattusa, meaning somebody carried it there across a considerable distance. Historians connected it to the Hittite royal ceremony, possibly a sacred altar used by kings. A separate theory tied it directly to the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses II, potentially a ceremonial object exchanged when the Hittites and Egyptians signed the Treaty of Kadesh around 1279 BC, one of the earliest known peace agreements in recorded human history. Forest Mausoleum. They were deep in Scottish forest, well off any marked trail, when a shape beneath the vines and accumulated dirt of what looked like decades of undisturbed growth revealed itself as something built by human hands. A mausoleum, detailed in its construction, the kind of structure raised for someone considered important enough to warrant permanent stone commemoration. Clearing enough of the growth to get inside, they found a grave dated 1792. The immediate questions were straightforward, and none of them had straightforward answers. Who was buried this far from any settlement, any road, any church, or community that would have organized a burial? Forest markers. A photographer, out in the forest, noticed a rock that stopped him mid-step. Not remarkable in size, but wrong in placement, shaped oddly and positioned in a way that felt deliberate rather than natural. Then he saw another one, then another. Each one different but clearly not random, arranged across the forest floor with an intention that nature does not produce on its own. Ancient cultures across multiple continents use stone arrangements to mark sacred ground, guide travelers through unfamiliar terrain, or signal boundaries that outsiders were not meant to cross. Whether these particular stones were left by human hands centuries ago or something else entirely, the photographer described the forest around them as feeling fundamentally different. Because it may be disturbing for some viewers, we have two incidents that will give you goosebumps. The first one is an explorer who ended up finding a tunnel that didn't look like it had been used in decades, but it's what he found inside that's shocking. An old underground shelter was found with a murky pool in one of the hallways. Floating in it were strange shapes. Whether these were real or mannequins, it's hard to tell. However, in February 2025, Fort Collins police responded to a chilling 3:30 a.m. call. Two remains were discovered inside a tunnel under South College Avenue. The Fort Collins police believe they slipped past safety gates to get in. Both had previously been contacted by the city's homeless outreach program called HOPE. Now the city is working to clear tunnels. In the Amazon, a biologist thought he was looking at a tree trunk. Then it blinked. Tentacles started moving slowly from its sides. It looked part animal, part plant. Nothing like anything he had ever seen. It didn't attack or run. It just stood there, alive. He backed away, without saying a word. No one could explain what he saw. In a quiet village, a man found a strange creature that fit in his hand. It was furry, with little hands like a monkey and large round eyes that didn't blink. It held onto his fingers and just stared. No one knew what it was. It didn't match anything local. Scientists looked into it, but nothing was confirmed. It's still a mystery. CCTV footage showed a shadowy figure running fast, chased by animals. It looked human until it vanished mid-run. The body was too thin, the movements too strange. Some blamed a camera glitch. Others said it was a shapeshifter. Whatever it was, it disappeared like it was never there. Scientists found a tiny creature with a hard shell, lots of legs, and strange movements, almost like a robotic turtle. But then it laughed. A soft, childlike giggle echoed through the lab. Everyone froze. It didn't match any known species. No one could explain it. If this came from the Amazon, there might be stranger things still out there. A trail cam picked up two pale, humanoid figures crawling on all fours. Their eyes glowed in the dark. One had something in its mouth. The other stayed close behind, moving fast and low. When they passed the camera, their bodies looked thin and wrong like stretched skin. Some think they were skinwalkers carrying fresh prey. Others say they were young ones, still learning to hide. Either way, it's disturbing. A camper was searching for his lost pet in the jungle at night. With only a flashlight, he spotted something watching him from behind a tree. Then it vanished. Seconds later, it jumped. The footage ends there, with a blurry frame of something that looked like a rotting face. No one knows what happened next. The man never shared another update. Tourists exploring an abandoned house found more than dust. In one dark corner, something moved. It looked like a person at first, but then they saw thick fur and limbs shaped like a wolf's. Its body was too long, its arms too bent. Some said mutation, others didn't say anything. They left fast. Over France, a dark shape floated across the sky. It didn't make a sound. The man who filmed it thought maybe it was a balloon, until it stayed perfectly still for minutes, then shot off. The footage spread fast. Some blamed secret tech, others said aliens. No one's explained it. No one has seen it again. They left their friend inside. A group of friends, looking for a thrill, decided to explore the crumbling ruins of an old mansion. Inside, they found symbols drawn in a red that didn't look like paint, marking the walls with something they couldn't explain. It wasn't until they made their way down to the basement that the true horror began. As soon as they stepped inside, the air hit them, thick, rancid, and overwhelming. One of them gagged, the smell so foul it made him instantly vomit. And then, the silence was broken by 3 deafening, gut-churning bangs from the darkness. Terrified, they ran for the door, but one friend, slower than the rest, didn't make it out in time.
The door's locked! Get open! There's scratches!
When he finally returned, he just wasn't the same ever since.
Jesus. Go, 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 go! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, the police are open. Okay, you gotta go. The door's locked. Get open! There's scratches. Go, 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 go. What's happening?
A man walking near the woods noticed something odd on a low tree branch. Thin, ribbon-looking like creatures were moving, floating in the air, twisting smoothly like they were underwater. They didn't look like bugs. They didn't move like anything he'd seen before. He backed away. The strange shapes kept gliding. He never went near that area again.
It's like some weird alien bug. It's like some weird alien bug.
In South Africa, a truck driver saw something that didn't make sense. A creature with a body much like a human being and the face of a wolf was being loaded onto a flatbed truck. Someone nearby recorded it. What made people uneasy was the slight rise and fall of its chest, like it was breathing. But no one said anything official. No follow-up, no news. Just a strange clip and silence. And then it disappeared. In 2024, a trail camera deep in the woods caught something huge. It wasn't blurry, it wasn't quick. The footage showed a large, hairy creature crouched in the trees. It looked exactly like Bigfoot. Broad frame, thick fur, heavy movements. The video made it to news networks. People who laughed before weren't so sure anymore. This time, it looked real. While exploring a jungle, a group of tourists came across something disturbing. Their flashlights revealed a creature crouched low, feeding on something. It looked like a monkey, but it was wrong. It turned toward them slowly, and fear rippled through the group. Some thought it was a wild animal. Others said that they had seen a young Wendigo. No one was brave enough to get closer, and no one ever spoke about it again. Late one night, a group of friends was driving near the woods when they spotted a pale, twisted figure standing in the shadows. Its glowing eyes locked onto them, watching in silence. Instead of leaving, they laughed and shouted at it. A big mistake. The creature didn't look like a lost traveler. It looked like a skinwalker, a creature from ancient legends. Soon, more figures emerged from the trees surrounding them. Locals say if you ever see something like this, don't mock it. Just leave. While walking near a sewer, a man spotted something strange swimming in the water. At first, it appeared to be just another fish, until he zoomed in with his camera. That's when things got weird. The creature had the body of a fish but a rat-like face, making it look like something out of a sci-fi film.
Like, you have a tail. What is this fish? That is not a fish.
A train passenger casually filming the passing scenery got the shock of a lifetime. As the trees blurred by, something caught his attention. Clinging to a tree trunk was a massive spider. Its legs stretched wide, its body so large it almost blended with the bark. The brief glimpse left the passenger stunned, with only a few seconds to take it all in. In a small village in Indonesia, something strange started happening. Any cattle that wandered too close to the river mysteriously vanished. Concerned, some locals decided to investigate. What they saw shocked them, a dark creature with a long tail lurking beneath the surface. They tried to trap it, but just as quickly as it appeared, it disappeared back into the water. To this day, no one knows what it was. While out on a boat, a group of friends noticed something odd in the water. As they got closer, they realized it was a massive jellyfish, their bodies drifting lazily, their tentacles swaying with the current. It felt as though the jellyfish were watching them. Not wanting to disturb them, the friends stayed perfectly still. After a few moments, the mass began drifting away, disappearing back into the water as silently as it had come. Two friends were enjoying a quiet night on the beach when a pale, tall figure appeared on the sand. It moved awkwardly, its eerie presence sending chills down their spines. The figure resembled the skinwalker stories they had heard growing up. Fear took over, and they bolted, leaving the creature behind. As they ran, the figure continued its slow patrol along the shoreline. Some believe skinwalkers lurk in lonely places, waiting for their chance. These two barely escaped its gaze. Somewhere deep in the Indonesian forest, villagers caught something on camera that didn't seem real. A giant millipede, long as a car, being carried by 4 men using bamboo poles. It squirmed and shifted, its size completely unnatural for anything we know today. People argued if it was real or a hoax, but the footage didn't feel fake. And here's the strange part. Millions of years ago, a creature just like this did exist. It was called Arthropleura, the largest millipede ever discovered. So maybe this wasn't so impossible after all. In a quiet village, a man passing by the swamp noticed something strange sticking out of the water. It looked like old bones at first, worn and twisted like driftwood, but it had shape, almost like it was carved. The locals refused to get close. They said it wasn't driftwood. They said it was a watcher, a protector, or something older than the swamp itself. A man flew his drone over a beach and spotted a horse running along the shore. On its back was a figure with long hair but no face, just smooth skin. It held tight to the horse, not looking around. The drone footage was real, and people still argue about what that rider was. A group near a river saw something big lying on the shore. It looked like a snake at first, but it had spots and a thick eel-like body. It was nearly 6 meters long. Locals mentioned the abaya, a giant eel spirit from old stories. The thing slid back into the water and disappeared. The shadows left behind in Hiroshima are a chilling reminder of the devastating event that changed the world forever. These eerie silhouettes hold a history that's as haunting as it is unforgettable. It may seem like a glitch, but it's much more than that. As this man stands in front of the wall, he is stopping the wall from absorbing the sun's heat. And due to the cooling breeze and clear blue sky, his shadow remains cast on the wall. It is called thermal shadow. A diver met an octopus she called Scarlet. It had a small scar under its eye and acted strangely. Before getting close, it covered its eyes like it was shy. Then it gently touched her hand. No tricks, no fear, just quiet contact. It didn't feel random. It felt like it understood.
When you spend time with an octopus, you get the feeling that they're as curious about you as you are about them. If you study them for long enough, you'll see little imperfections on their skin. This day octopus had a little scar below her eye, and that's why I named her Scarlet.
Foresters filming in the woods spotted something odd, a hunched figure with long arms and a tail. It didn't move. They kept quiet, filmed it, and left. The clip spread fast. Some said troll, others said Wendigo. No one knows what it was, and no one's gone back. While exploring a cave, a man's camera caught something hiding in the dark. It had long limbs, a hunched back, and 2 sharp horns. It didn't charge, it stalked, slowly, like it was waiting. He ran. Later, he watched the footage with friends. They all agreed. It looked just like a Wendigo. Others weren't so sure. Some said it was worse. Whatever it was, it's still out there. I don't mean to give you a fright, but explain to me what just happened. This person was at his local church when he caught this. As the camera pans towards the statue of Jesus, the eyes open. Spooky! This is another strange sighting of a statue of Jesus moving, and then even in broad daylight. In 1975, a park worker at Woodlands National Park reported seeing a tall figure with horns. Security went out to check. One night, as they camped in the woods, something moved near the trees, slow, heavy, and watching. A soldier swore he saw the horns. They all made it back, but they left shaken. Whatever's in those woods, it's still there. Inside a dark cave, a man's flashlight landed on something carved into the rock. A giant one-eyed figure, a cyclops. The face was cracked but clear. It looked real, too real. He stepped closer. The details were perfect, like it had been waiting there for someone to find it. The deeper he went, the colder the cave felt. He didn't stay long. That stone figure still sits in the dark, untouched. Was this an actual shapeshifter? The clip shows a strange-looking creature on the side of the road, towering taller than most buildings. It had horns on its head and appeared disoriented, out of place. The cameraman made the mistake of not running away, so they had to hide from whatever this thing actually was. After observing its surroundings, possibly searching for prey or its own kind, the creature suddenly ran off, leaving everyone wondering what just happened. Reptilians are real! During a live broadcast, the eyes of this news reporter seemingly glitched out. Although she blinked and her eyes shut close, they were still visible on her eyelids, and the eyes were different this time around.
And protecting the population and minimizing civilian casualties have long been a cornerstone of the counterinsurgency.
While walking along the shore, a visitor spotted 2 pale shapes drifting in the water. They were thin, twisted, almost like skeletons, tangled together. One looked like it had a tail or some kind of robe. Some said mermaids, others said fish remains, but they didn't look right. The ocean carried them out slowly, without a sound. No one has seen anything like them since. One night, a farmer's dogs wouldn't stop barking. They were focused on something hiding near a broken fence, their eyes fixed on a shadowy figure. It tried to move away, but the dogs didn't give up. The farmer began recording, and what he captured was unsettling. The figure struggled to escape, but the dogs stayed locked on. Was it a ghost or something darker? Whatever it was, the footage left people unnerved. Kevin Hart's public persona as the funny, friendly guy everyone loves is starting to unravel in a way that's seriously unsettling. One night, during an interview with Kelly Clarkson, something happened that left both the audience and viewers at home feeling uncomfortable. As Kelly asked a seemingly innocent question, Kevin's face shifted. His usual charm evaporated, replaced with genuine fear. Kelly almost casually dropped a comment that was way out of place, hinting at things that most people would never dare speak of on live TV.
You are comfortable with having on yourself and your choices, where...
Well, I think grew up poor, though. You're like, look, I've been there and I was fine.
What else,
yeah,
what
are
else
you going to do to me? Yeah. I was like, and then, I don't know if you've had this, but I've had people throw millions of dollars in my face to do something I didn't want to do. And, what? Just, you've been up.
In Boise, Idaho, people spotted something that shouldn't exist. A massive winged creature soared across the sky. It looked like a pterosaur, those giant reptiles that once ruled the air with sharp teeth and powerful wings. These creatures are supposed to be extinct. A shocking video from Brazil showed a creature no one expected, an anaconda over 50 feet long gliding through the river. Bigger than anything seen before, this monster of the Amazon stunned viewers. With its endless jungles and waterways, the Amazon continues to hide mysteries too large to comprehend. What else could be lurking beneath those waters? On Romania's beaches, a strange video surfaced. It showed a humanoid figure struggling in a cage. Its features resembled the grey aliens from popular stories. The video was filmed by a tourist, but after sharing it, he vanished. No one knows what he saw, but his disappearance suggests some things are better left unknown. Whatever was in that cage, it was never meant to be seen.
Okay, so I'm in this really crappy zoo in Romania. They got this really weird creature caged up.
A man stood by the river, enjoying the peaceful view, when two people in bright yellow suits caught his attention. They weren't fishing, they were carrying a large net. He quietly filmed from a distance. Moments later, they dragged something strange onto the shore. A fishtail that looks like a mermaid, but those are myth and fake. What do you think? The creature was camouflaged within the tree, so at first glance it is difficult to spot it. But slowing down the video and capturing an image, this tree dweller can be seen looking at the person recording, who felt a strange aura when he came near this tree. The cameraman immediately runs from the area, but looking back at the creature, we can tell it had glowing eyes, a tiny body, and its head was unlike any creature on the planet. No wonder the tree creatures hide themselves from the world, and we are still unsure what lurks in the woods. In the dead of night, Indonesian farmers were woken by the terrified cries of their goats. When they rushed outside, they saw something strange, a creature gripping one of the goats. It wouldn't let go, no matter how much the animal struggled. Just as they moved closer, it released the goat and darted off, disappearing into the night. They chased it through the fields, but it leapt into a nearby lake and vanished beneath the surface. Was it a new predator or something more mysterious? No one knows. One night, a woman caught something unusual in her backyard. The creature had a strange hump and moved on its arms, unlike anything she'd ever seen. It was like a hybrid, something hidden away for years. But before anyone could get a better look, it vanished into the night. Authorities were called, but no one could figure out what it was or where it went. To this day, it remains a mystery. While strolling near a jungle river, a man noticed massive splashes in the water. He pulled out his phone and started recording, thinking something huge was lurking beneath the surface. When the footage hit the web, experts quickly identified the cause: manatees in the middle of a rare mating ritual. What first seemed like a strange mystery was really a beautiful glimpse into nature's wonders. A fishing crew thought they'd caught something huge, but when they pulled the net onto the deck, their excitement turned to shock. They had trapped a massive manta ray, a giant of the ocean rarely seen up close. Though these gentle giants sometimes get caught in nets, finding one of this size was extraordinary. Witnessing such beauty is unforgettable, but catching them isn't ideal. They are a vulnerable species that needs protection. While tending his flock, a shepherd stumbled across something strange. A creature covered in sharp, spiky armor nestled among the rocks. It had the body of a lamb, but its features twisted in an unexpected way, resembling a porcupine. He carefully placed it in a bag before releasing it back into the wild, but no one knows what it really was. Locals are baffled, wondering if it was a rare, undiscovered species. An explorer froze in terror when a massive alligator snapping turtle lunged toward him. Its jaws were wide open, and those jaws, strong enough to snap a wooden stick like it was a toothpick. These turtles, some of the biggest in freshwater, can weigh up to 100 pounds, and their spiked shells make them look like ancient relics from the age of dinosaurs. The explorer wisely backed off, and later, a fisherman discovered another one.
Mira la fuerza de la mordida de esta tortuga. Puede usar la fuerza de su mordida para quitarte un brazo.
a group of friends ventured into a quiet cemetery one night, seeking a bit of thrill. They found it when they spotted a tall figure standing beneath a tree, its white form unmoving, one hand raised as if frozen in time. The eerie silence surrounding it kept them at a distance, fear growing with every passing second. They quickly left. When they checked the footage later, they thought it was a ghost of an evil person. A home security camera captured a chilling moment. A white figure emerged from the shadows, moving in an unnatural way, shifting shapes before disappearing into thin air. When the homeowners reviewed the footage, terror set in. Some speculated it was a narwhal, a shape-shifting creature from ancient legends. Others thought it might be something far more otherworldly, a creature not meant to be seen by human eyes, caught on camera in a fleeting moment. In Ituna, Saskatchewan, a farming family discovered something strange in their fields. Mysterious, scattered debris that didn't belong. While Barry Sawchuk and his son Cody were working on the 28th of April, 2024, they found pieces unlike anything they had encountered before. One piece, nearly 100 pounds, was charred and made of an odd combination of carbon fiber and aluminum. Experts are now investigating, with some suggesting it could be space debris. The Canadian Space Agency is looking into it, but the truth remains a mystery.
In Lake in 1968, a hunter found something kind of like that. It was a little more metallic, but it turned out to have been part of a satellite, possibly even Canada's own Alouette.
In September 2022, villagers in Assam, India, encountered a rare and eerie bird, the great-eared nightjar. This endangered species is so elusive that sightings feel almost mythical. Concerned for its safety, the villagers quickly contacted the Assam Forest Department, who rushed in to rescue the bird. After careful handling, it was released into the safety of Kaziranga National Park. Thanks to their swift actions, this rare bird now has a chance to thrive in its natural home. One evening, a farmer stood in his field, bracing for an incoming storm. But what he saw instead was even stranger. A fluffy white creature danced and twirled, releasing soft puffs of smoke as it moved. The farmer stood frozen, unsure whether it was an unknown animal or something entirely beyond comprehension. The creature spun away into the night, leaving him with more questions than answers. In India's Kali River, a biologist set out to confirm the old stories of massive fish lurking beneath the water's surface. After hours of waiting, he finally hooked one. 160 pounds golden fish, powerful and menacing. As the fish thrashed, it became clear the river monsters of Kali River were real. They were massive, strong, and capable of striking fear into anyone brave enough to enter their waters. From the murky depths of a swamp, something strange kept emerging for only a few seconds before vanishing again. Some claimed it had a beak, speculating it could be a bird or reptile. Others believed it was a mutated creature, something no one had ever seen before. The more people tried to get closer for a better look, the quicker it disappeared. Now it's time for today's open discussion of the day. This video is really strange and I don't think I understood what happened. I mean, look at this. An entity covered in a blue cloth was seen on someone's property and very suspiciously moving around the place. Then I don't know if it transformed or it got a hold of the owner. He struggles to get it off his property, only for this to happen. Maybe this blue cloth is an evil entity because look what happened next. The human disappeared or was overtaken by whatever this was. I'm calling this fake for poor acting but good attempt. Comment your thoughts and thank you for watching.
Vanishing family. A man was camping alone in a treehouse deep in the forest when, around midnight, strange sounds echoed through the trees. At first, he assumed it was an animal, but the noises grew louder, mixing soft cries with an unsettling laughter. Curious and cautious, he grabbed his flashlight and shone it toward the forest floor. That's when he saw it. A pale figure moving slowly between the trees, making the same eerie sounds he had just heard. The sight was so unnatural, it froze him in place. The man left immediately, but the memory stayed. Whatever he saw that night wasn't just lost in the woods, it was watching. Creepy crawler. The jungle near this village was known for one disturbing reason. People entered, but didn't always return. Many thought they simply lost their way. One man decided to explore the area himself. As he walked deeper inside, he felt a strange disturbance and assumed it was an animal nearby. To stay alert, he started recording and slowly turned his camera in all directions. That's when he saw it. A tall, white face peeked from behind a tree. It looked faceless and unnaturally still. The man ran and managed to escape. Later, while reviewing the footage, he realized he may have encountered Slender Man, the same presence linked to the disappearances. During a camping trip, a group of friends saw something, definitely not an ordinary ghost. At first, they thought it was an animal, but as they looked closer, they realized it was a pale, skinny figure that had taken over one of their tents. None of them dared approach it, and they ran from the campsite as fast as they could. The creature resembled a skinwalker. What's unsettling is why they keep appearing. Humans seem to be unknowingly entering their hidden territories. Disturbing places once ruled in silence. Research first, otherwise, you might become their next visitor. Invited voice. A family camping in the woods saw a sight that felt straight out of a horror movie. All was well, but suddenly the girl spotted a figure behind the trees. Dressed in all white, with messy hair, it looked like a lost spirit. The sight alone was enough to give goosebumps to everyone there. Rumors say the family has been missing since the video was released to the media. There has been no update on what happened to them. The locals believe those woods have been cursed for years. Long ago, a woman fell from that very tree, and many claimed her spirit still stays. At first, it was just an old tale, but now people are convinced. If the stories were true, then the spirit may have finally taken someone with her. Midnight Walker.
It literally sounded...
Stacy.
What started as a harmless game turned into something far more disturbing. A man was camping alone in the jungle and decided to play with an Ouija board, expecting nothing serious. Moments later, he heard a girl's voice calling out from the darkness. Confused, he stepped outside the tent, wondering how a woman could be there alone. But no one was around. That's when he realized what he had done. The game had invited something unseen. He stopped immediately and left the campsite. Even now, he says strange things still happen around him. Whatever came that night was invited, and the guest never truly left.
Stacy.
What the was that?
Freezing presence.
No me puedo mover.
A man checking the back area of his ranch noticed a strange figure standing near the trees. At first, it didn't move or make any sound. It just stood there, silent and still. But the moment he focused on it, something felt wrong. His breathing became heavy, and his body slowly began to freeze, as if he had lost control. The figure continued watching him without coming closer. Then, just as suddenly as the feeling took over, the figure faded into the darkness and disappeared. It didn't chase him or strike. It felt as if the presence only wanted to show its power. Nothing more, nothing less.
No le entiendo. Amigo.
Bridge Skinwalker. You won't believe what a man captured under a bridge in a city area. Late at night, he heard strange voices echoing from beneath the bridge and thought someone there might need help. As he moved closer and aimed his camera, the truth became clear. Standing in the shadows was a skinwalker. The voices were not cries for help, but a trap meant to lure him closer. The man ran the moment he realized the risk. But how did the forest legend end in the city? Well, it seemed like cities grow closer to wooded areas, and these hunters seem to be moving closer to us. Since then, locals have avoided the bridge completely, fearing what might still be hiding there. Watching trees. Hearing the haunted stories told by other campers, a man decided to spend a night alone in the same forest. At first, everything felt normal. The forest was quiet, and nothing strange happened. But after a few hours, creepy noises began coming from outside his camp. Fear set in as he remembered what others had warned him about. Many believe those woods belong to spirits that do not welcome visitors. That night proved one thing clearly: some places are never meant to be disturbed. Backyard figure. You won't believe what a CCTV camera in a man's backyard captured late at night. The footage showed a misty figure moving slowly across the yard. It was all pale and moving with purpose. Was it a ghost passing by or a rake? Well, the fog just didn't make the picture clear at all. The house was located right at the edge of a dense forest, making the sighting even more disturbing. Whatever it was, luckily it never returned. Oregon alien. Just outside Bend, Oregon, in May, a local man went on a camping trip at his favorite spot and never came back. Most of his belongings, including his car and camera, were later found at the site. The camera revealed his last moments.
Alright, well, it may seem like a bit much, but here I am solo camping.
As he explored, he suddenly came face to face with a gray humanoid creature standing perfectly still in his path. Shocked, he lost control of the camera, and the video abruptly ended. The man was never seen again. That creature left no trace, only the chilling footage remains, showing how close he came to the unknown.
Shit. Fucking flashlight.
Camera stalker.
Who's stalking who now? Look at that. Do you see a person?
A YouTuber was recording a vlog when something strange happened. While checking his camera screen, he noticed someone behind him. Confused, he quickly turned around, but no one was there. The area was empty and silent. When he looked back at the footage, the camera had clearly captured a dark figure moving around and staring at him. The shape didn't look human, and its features were hard to see. It stayed just long enough to be noticed, then vanished. Even after watching the clip many times, no one could clearly tell what that thing was.
I got you now, motherfucker. Look at this beautiful moss, by the way.
Glowing Genderuwo. A villager walking near a forest in Java, Indonesia, noticed what looked like an owl sitting quietly on a high tree branch. At first, it seemed normal, until he looked closer and saw red, glowing eyes staring back at him. The figure slowly covered its face, and the man realized it was not a bird at all, but Genderuwo, a terrifying being from Javanese folklore known for disguising itself to fool people. After the incident, the village is in panic, fearing that the sighting brings misfortune or threatens them all.